Good evening and welcome to Bible study with myself, Dr. Hussein Shashavari. Lovely to see you all here at Bluff Coffee in Kingsnorth and also all over the world. Tonight I'm going to be sharing the story, the wonderful story of the man who was washed away but survived to tell the story about it, Noah. What an incredible story that goes from generation to generation, genealogy to genealogy, a common ancestor for all of mankind, and a story that is known as a legend, a myth, a historical fact, and a religious belief. One of the incredible things about the story of Noah is that it's in almost every religion, from almost every culture, they've got a flood story. Some people think that the flood was localized, some people think that the flood was worldwide, but we're going to look at it, and we're going to go back to Genesis 6 just to give the background for the flood. Genesis chapter 6 verse 9. These are the generations of Noah. Noah was a just man and perfect in his generation. Why is it important that Noah was perfect in his generation? Does that mean that every man was perfect in his line? Or does that mean that his bloodline was perfect? Anyway, Noah walked with God. So we see Noah is walking with God. Enoch walked with God too, and Enoch was not, for God took him. Noah walked with God, and we're going to see that when the destruction of mankind comes, he is saved. Walking with God is very important. It's funny, there was a person that said, I am the way. So if you want to walk with God, walk in the way. It's truth, and you have life. Noah begat 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. The earth was also corrupt before God, and the earth was filled with violence. You see here in just a few generations from Adam getting kicked out of the Garden of Eden, violence, which the word for that is Hamas, has filled the earth. And people are doing it right in front of God. So in verse 13, and God said to Noah, the end of all flesh is come before me, for the earth is filled with violence through them. And behold, I will destroy them with the earth. You see a theme here is going to run throughout the Bible, that if you sin, if you become violent, God will destroy you. It seems very sad to say this, but people have forgotten that God is the destroyer of mankind when he wants to, and also the redeemer of mankind. Why? Because his life, or our lives, are in his hands. We see this at the end as well. There is a promise that God is coming back to judge the world. He's coming back in the form of Jesus. Jehovah is salvation, but he's coming to judge. However, if you're walking with him, he will save you. Where are we? So, in verse 14 it said, make thee an ark of gopher wood, rooms thou shalt make in the ark, thou shalt pitch within it, and pitch, and within it pitch. And this is the fashion thou shalt make of it. The length of the ark shall be 300 cubits, the breadth of it 50 cubits, the height of it 30 cubits. A window, only one, that place must have stunk. A window thou shalt make into the ark, and in a cubit you shall finish it above. And the door of the ark you shall set in the side whereof with the lower, second, and third stories thou shalt make it. And behold, I, even I, do bring a flood of waters upon the earth to destroy all flesh, wherein is the breath of life from under the heaven, and everything that is in the earth shall die. I'm curious as to when God tells us very directly that it's I, even I, that sends the flood to destroy the earth. Why people sometimes attribute destruction to the devil. It's not always the devil. Sometimes it's God. I know that's really hard to believe because we're told that God is a grace of love, mercy, and goodness. And he is when you walk with him. But when you don't walk with him, you become his enemy. And the thing is, sooner or later, he will judge you and destroy you. So I implore you today, don't be an enemy of God. Be a lover of God. I want to take this time to say some hellos to some people in the writing which is so tiny that I can't see it. So tiny. So I'd like to say hello to Abby who says, we cannot hear you. Good evening. Hi Carlene. Hi Emra. Vanessa, LaShawn, God bless you. Nathaniel. I can barely hear you. Are you able to turn that volume up, please? Good evening, Ebony, Pamela. Same sound very low. How much more can we boost this? Can I speak? I'm just changing the position of my microphone. Can you tell me if this is better, please? And we'll try. Just let me know how it's going. Can you put some comments up so I know if it's good or bad or better? Good evening, Pamela. Just okay. So we'll wait for that feedback, not actual feedback. All right. Make thee an ark of gopher wood. This fashion you shall make it. A window, verse 16, 17. Even I do bring a flood of waters upon the earth to destroy all flesh. So it's very specific why he's bringing the flood. He's bringing the flood to destroy all flesh. What flesh? The flesh which was corrupt, the flesh which was sinning, the flesh which was maybe not all human, not the way that God created it. It's interesting because when you read Leviticus and the rest of the Bible, God has a very clear thing about don't mix foods, don't mix uniform, don't mix clothes. He wants us to wear one material, one type of thing. He's very much into preserving what he's made the way he's made it. Does that mean that he's not into GM crops which have been modified? Does that mean he's not into mixing species? Who knows? What is the theme here? You read it. And I want to say hello to Dana. There's also white, not a white sound. Sounds fuzzy and is really low. Hi, good. Hi, Shafira. Can we get another microphone set up while we're doing this? Oh, I don't have one. Great. Well, I do apologize. This is the sound that we've got for the time being. Okay. So he's going to destroy everything with the breath of life from under the heaven. And it says, but with thee I will establish my covenant. So there is a promise that to the person who is walking with God, despite the corruption and the destruction happening all around the earth, that he's going to establish a covenant with him. And you shall come into the ark, you and your sons and your wife and your sons' wives with you. Why? This tells me that if you're married to a good man, you'll be saved. And every living thing of all flesh, two of every sort thou shalt bring into the ark to keep them alive with thee, and thou shalt be male and female. So if you want to stay alive, bring it male and female. Just reading the Bible. Of the fowls of the air after their kind, of the cattle after their kind, of every creeping thing on the earth after its kind. Wow. Does that mean that cockroaches made it on the ark? Maybe it's God's plan for cockroaches. I don't know. I hope not for my house though. And bed bugs made it on the ark, it seems. Of the fowls after their kind, the cattle after their kind, every creeping thing on the earth after its kind, two of every sort shall come unto thee to keep them alive. Thou shalt take unto thee all food that is eaten, and thou shalt gather unto thee, and it shall be food for thee and for them. Thus did Noah according to all God commanded him. Chapter 7. And the Lord said unto Noah, come thou and all thy house into the ark, for thee I have seen righteous before me in this generation. I think this is such a powerful thing because God is about to destroy the world. And despite him being about to destroy the world from all its corruption, he found someone that he cares for. He found someone that he trusts. He found someone that he is saying is righteous before him. And in this righteousness he's saying, come you and your household. Well, what is your household like? He tells us very much clearly that the word Beth represents a house, and the house has a covering. And so whatever the covering is on that house will determine what's happening. Do you have a good covering or a bad covering? Is your covering sanctified or profane? What is your covering? Are you submitted to your covering, or are you committed to being asinine towards it? Whatever it is, you will know the spirit in your house. And it just makes me think of Job, because the devil literally destroyed everything apart from his inside agent. Anyway, going back to the letter Beth, it's talking about a covering, and when God is talking to Noah, he says, "You and your household will be saved," and that's a promise throughout the Bible. Every single time, you and your household will be saved. There's this thing that people have noticed, that whenever a man is saved in the house, generally the whole household becomes saved. Not so much when it's a woman, but women. Please, 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 if your husband isn't saved, pray for him. If your husband isn't the man that you want him to be, then you change. Because if you change, he may react to that change. Or pray that he gets better. Maybe you need to fast and pray that he gets better, but whatever it is, don't be a passenger of life. Be proactive in your walk with God. Be proactive in your fight with God. Be proactive in what you're doing. You see, Noah walked with God, and then God said, "Noah, I want to save you from the coming destruction." So what did Noah do? Noah worked with God. His faith had works. A lot of times we may be praying for something and God will say, "Do this, do that, do the other." He'll speak into your heart. He will speak into your dreams. He may even get the donkey to come and speak to you. There's been times when I'm sure everyone's had a drunk person come and give them a prophetic word. And when God is getting the drunk person to give you a prophetic word, that may be a sign that you're not listening. So if God can use the ass, donkey, whatever you want to call it, he can use you. He can use me. He can use anyone. And when God is speaking to us and saying, "This is what you need to do in your work situation. This is what you need to do in your home situation. This is what you need to do in your academic situation," we have a choice to be proactive and listen to what he's saying and work towards it, or we can just say, "Well, God is going to protect me." Well, is that the case? If God tells you to do something and you don't do it, are you righteous? God saved Noah because he was righteous. But if you're disobedient to God, are you righteous? Question. So Noah and his family are told to come into the ark, not to go in the ark. And if you speak English as a first language, you will know that the person telling Noah to come into the ark is God. And if he's saying come into the ark, that means that he is there. What a wonderful thing that God is saying, "Come into the ark. Come into the place that you made, and I'm dwelling in it." Do we have any other examples of this? Yes. David funded the temple. Solomon built the temple. Solomon made the sacrifice, and when Solomon made the sacrifice, God came inside and inhabited the temple. The same way we are told this is the temple of the Lord, and when we invite God in, he will come inside and dwell in our hearts. The Bible says that we have the whole counsel of God living inside of us. So please don't be foolish. That's a bad reputation of God. If you're being foolish, if you're being stupid, because God is not foolish and God is not stupid. So we need to be above only and not beneath, the head and not the tail. Blessed coming in, blessed going out, blessed in the city, blessed in the field, blessed everywhere we go. Okay, so Noah said to him, "Come into the ark, all the house and ark, for I have seen you righteous before me this generation." How many of us need to be seen as righteous? How many? Can people look at you and look at your life, your friends, and say, "You know what, this is a person of God"? Or maybe a bit dodgy. What would they say when they talk about you? To your face and behind your back. Would they say that you're a person that's a believer in God? We've heard this expression so many times. If Christianity was made illegal, would there be enough evidence to convict you? Well, if there isn't enough evidence to convict you of Christianity, then is there enough evidence to get you into heaven? If there's not enough evidence to convict you of Christianity, does that mean there's enough evidence to convict you of, well, I guess the opposite of Christianity would be worshiping the devil. So, Satanism. Oh, but Pastor, I don't worship Satan. Or do you worship God? Because the default of not worshipping God. Okay. Verse 2. Of every clean beast You shall take unto thee by sevens the male and his female, and the beasts which are not clean by two, the male and his female. So for me, 7 is not an even number, so I'm thinking maybe that's 14, 7 males and 7 females. Fowls of the fowls also of the air by 7, the male and the female, to keep the seed alive upon all the face of the earth. And it's very interesting that to keep the seed alive, God requires 2. Even I hear, because I'm not a scientist, that you have male plants and female plants. Wow. So God has created an order where male and female get together and procreate or recreate or keep the seed alive. I've heard about times when they're trying to fly a panda from one side of the world to another to mate with another panda so they can keep the seed alive. Even here in Kent, they try to, sometimes they have giraffes which get together, actually Rothschild giraffes, that get together to keep the seed alive. And there's something about that, even in the face of utter destruction, where God is saying, I want to destroy all flesh, He keeps the seed alive. A very important thing. He says that there's going to be a new heaven and a new earth, but He will keep the seed alive. Have we allowed our seed to die? Have we allowed our faith to die? Have we allowed our vision to become blurred, blind, or dead? Well, what do you need to do to keep your seed alive, your legacy alive, your dream alive, your destiny alive? Don't be a person that looks at everything around and says, wow, I can see destruction coming on the face of the earth. I can see they're doing this, they're doing that, they're doing the other. It looks like there's no hope. But there is hope, because even in the darkest time, the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness cannot overpower it, it cannot comprehend it, it cannot snuff it out. And if you hold on to the light, which is the light of men, Jesus Christ, He will have a place for you. Hold on to hope. Hold on to Jesus. Hold on to God. Be righteous before Him. Live for Him. And keep your seed alive. And the fear of you, verse 9. Am I on verse 9? I should be on verse 8. Chapter 8, sorry. No. Chapter 7, verse 4. For yet 7 days I will cause it to rain upon the earth. And this is something, again, we have the 7, the number of perfection. 7 days early, He gets them locked in the ark. So if you're a person that believes in dispensationalism, you believe in the rapture, 7 days before destruction, you will be saved. What does that mean? Does that mean that you'll go into an ark and disappear while the destruction comes? Who knows? I will cause it to rain upon the earth for 40 days and 40 nights, like Jesus was in the wilderness for 40 days and 40 nights, like Moses was in the wilderness for 40 years. That 40, very interesting number. And every living substance which I have made, I will destroy from the face of the earth. So I just want to throw this in as a caveat. Everything that God has made, He will destroy. Every living thing that's upon the face of earth that God made, He's going to destroy. And Noah did according to all that the Lord commanded him, and Noah was 600 years old when the flood of waters was upon the earth. And Noah went in, and his sons and his wife, and his sons and wives before into the ark, because of the waters of the flood. Of clean beasts, and of beasts that are not clean, and of fowls, and everything that creepeth upon the earth. And they went in 2 by 2 unto Noah and the ark, male and female, as God had commanded Noah. This is a very sad story, because Noah was righteous on the earth, and Noah preached the good news of the ark of God for 120 years. It's going to rain, there's going to be a flood, it's going to be bad. And after 120 years, only his family was saved. sometimes you'll be preaching. It's like you're flogging a dead horse. It's like nobody wants to listen to you. It's like speaking to a brick wall. God is real. He loves you. He's going to save you. You just need to believe. You need to do this, da 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 da. And people don't listen. But to God, God accounted it to Noah for righteousness. So if God chooses you to preach and you never lead anyone to him, you're still righteous before him because you're being obedient to what he's called you to do. Just because it doesn't look like you're getting results in the natural, it doesn't mean that you should give in. It just means keep on being obedient to God, keep on being obedient to his calling. It's like many things. Going to the gym, you may not see results instantly, but you'll get those results over time, or you'll maintain. It's like learning how to cook. Please, if you can't cook, learn. Your life will be happier for it. If you learn to cook, it's a wonderful flavor in your mouth. If you don't know how to cook, it's a sour flavor in your mouth, whatever it is. Learn to be the best version of you that you can be. When you practice anything, you'll get better at it. Perfect practice makes perfect. If you practice the wrong thing, that's your own trouble. But yeah, you can do better, you can do best. Or you can just float. So, in the 600th year of Noah's life, in the second month, the 17th day of the month, and the same day all the fountains of the great deep broken up, and the windows of heaven were opened. That means that there was waters underneath the earth that were unlocked and broken up. Now, there's some things that I've seen with my own eyes. One of these things I saw on YouTube, which was I saw a video of a man that went into the ocean, went to the deepest part of the ocean, and said, there's another ocean underneath here, and I can't get in. And you see, everything around it is dead. And guess what happened? He disappeared a week later. That thing went online, that guy was dead. Don't know if they're trying to hide something, if it's just coincidental. We're going to say coincidence because I like reading. But I went to Iceland, and I think there's another place in Guru Crater, but there's these massive craters on the earth. And when I went to Iceland, it was like a fountain. Well, not a fountain, it was like a massive well. And I could look in it and I saw clear water in it. But it was like a crater. But a crater that kind of like exploded. And when I looked at it, I was like, this is one of the fountains. I might put it on my Instagram. I did film there. I think it was a couple of years ago. I might put it on my video on my Instagram of it. It's really amazing when you see with your eyes, like this is what God was talking about. Fountains of the deep opening up. And they said it was about 6,000 years old. Huh, that's interesting. Great timing. So these things are opening up. There's waters coming from the heavens. Some people say that that great rift is where God opened up the firmament and the water came down. I don't know, I've never been up there. But these things came on the earth. It rained 40 days, 40 nights, and in the self same day entered Noah, Shem, Ham, Japheth, and his sons in them, and they went. And they and every beast after his kind, and all the cattle after kind, and every creature thing after kind. It's so repetitive, but it's really making sure that you know what went in. And every fowl after his kind, and every bird of every sort. And they went into they went in unto Noah into the ark, two and two of all the flesh, which is the breath of life. And they went in male and female of all flesh, as God commanded him, and the Lord shut him in. When God is protecting you, God will close the door so that you can't escape, as well as the fact that other things can't get to you. God closing the door is that a sign of protection. God closing the door also says time is up. There's a verse where it says that in that day, people would desire to repent, but the actual ability to repent will be taken away from them. Don't wait till it's too late. If your heart is tender and it's pricked towards the conscience of God, don't say tomorrow. Tomorrow may not come for you. Say yes today. This is the hour of salvation. Also, just saying, if you've got any questions, please start typing them up. Please be ready to ask any questions, and I'll try to answer. I've got 29 minutes left, so let's get cracking. And they went in, and the Lord shut him in. He did as God commanded him, and it's interesting, the animals did as God commanded them also, because Noah didn't have to get the animals. God sent them. The same way, if God is asking you to do something, you don't have to worry about where the support is coming from. He will send the support, because God is the greatest of all timers. And the flood was 40 days upon the earth, and the waters increased, and it bare up the ark, and it lifted up upon the earth, and the waters prevailed and increased greatly upon the earth. And the ark went up on the face of the waters, and the waters prevailed exceedingly upon the earth, and all the high hills which were under the whole heaven were covered. 15 cubits upwards did the waters prevail, and the mountains were covered. And we know that even to this day, they're still finding seashells on mountains. Maybe because it was underwater. And all the flesh died that moved upon the earth, both fowl and of cattle and beasts, and every creeping thing that creep upon the earth, and every man. All in whose nostrils was the breath of life, and that was in the dry land died. And every living substance which was upon the face of the earth, of the ground, both man and cattle, and the creeping thing, and the fowl of the heavens, they were destroyed from the earth, and Noah only remained alive, and they that were in him on the ark. And the waters prevailed on the earth 150 days. So 40 days of raining, 150 days of wet weather, everyone dead. Me personally, I'll be traumatized. I'd have cabin fever. I would be scared, and I would be complaining to God about the one window of ventilation with all those animals on the ark. I've got one cat, it stinks way too much for me. I can't imagine what lion poo must smell. Actually, I do know lion poo is really stinky. Don't ask how I know, but lion poo is really stinky. Chapter 8. So after 150 days, I have this, sorry, if you hear that's me hissing, not the sound. After 150 days, we have this verse where it said, and God remembered Noah. And it makes me wonder, did he forget about them for 150 days? Probably. I can imagine after God sent the flood to destroy the earth, he's got the angels that rebelled, maybe arguing with him, trying to fight with him. You're killing our children, you're destroying them, why are you doing this? We need to find a way to revenge ourselves. People, the angels who were surprised or singing and rejoicing when he created the heavens and the earth, like, oh, my God, I didn't think, well, literally, my God, I didn't think he was actually going to do this. And then probably there was peace and quiet because there was no violence on the face of the earth. Please, don't be such a botheration to God that he wants to destroy you for some peace and quiet. Do what you ask. He will love you. Alright. And God remembered Noah and every living thing and all the cattle that was with him in the ark. And God made the wind to pass over the earth, and the waters assuaged. That's ASSWAGED. The fountains also of the deep and the windows of heaven were stopped, and the rain from heaven was restrained. And the waters returned from off the earth continually to the end of 150 days. The water was abated. And the ark rested in the 7th month of the 17th day of the month on the mountains of Ararat. How can this be a myth if he can even tell you how old the person was when it happened, what day it happened? It's like, yeah, that was last Tuesday. He's got a specific date when the flood happened and when it cleared up. And it was upon the mountains of Ararat, which was Armenia, now Turkey, used to be Persia. Iran could have been Russia at some point. This place is changing all the time. Everyone's trying to get that ark. Um, so it's telling you where it is, and I believe that at some point you can go on the internet and look for this afterwards, not now. That they said that people have found the ark under it's underground. It's been petrified, and you can see how the silhouette of it underneath the grass is quite interesting. Whether it's true or not is another thing, but it's definitely interesting to look at. I believe it's true because I believe in God and I believe in His word, and it's in the right place as well, and it's the right size. It says, and the waters decreased continually until the 10th month, and in the 10th month of the first day of the month were the tops of the mountains seen. And it came to pass at the end of the 40 days that Noah opened the window of the ark which he had made, and he sent forth a raven, which is a strong hardy bird, which went to and fro until the waters were dried up from the earth. He also sent a dove from him, which perceived the waters abated off the face of the ground. But the dove found no rest for the sole of her foot, and she returned to the ark, for the waters on the face of the whole earth. Then he put forth his hand and took her and pulled her into the ark, so that the dove was tied. And he stayed yet another 7 days, and again he sent forth the dove out of the ark. And the dove came back to him in the evening, and lo, in her mouth was an olive leaf plucked off. So Noah knew that the waters were abated from the earth. And amazingly, the olive tree was saved as well. That's why I use olive oil, not palm oil when I cook. I'm just kidding. He stayed yet another 7 days, okay, and sent forth the dove, and the dove was like, nope, I'm not going back in that cabin anymore. I found a tree, I'm good. And it came to pass on the 600th year, on the first year of the first month, on the first day of the month, that the waters were dried up from the earth, and Noah removed the covering from the ark, and looked, and behold, the face of the ground was dry. And in the second month, on the 7th and 20th day of the month, the earth dried, and God spoke to Noah, saying, go forth. It's interesting that God didn't speak to him before this. God just said, come in the ark, shut the door, and left him there for 150 days, plus the rest of it. Sometimes people think that when they're going through the storms, that God is going to speak to them every day. But God, you told me to do this. God, you told me to go here. God, you're the one that put me in this situation. God, I'm here because I'm righteous. You said to us, righteous, I'm here. You're destroying the people. But why am I here? It's horrible here. There's no light. It feels like I'm in darkness. And all I can smell is lion. I'm here stuck eating the vegetarian diet, and all I want to have is steak. But this is the thing. Just because God saves you, it doesn't mean it's going to be comfortable. God told Elijah to go in the wilderness and sent a raven to feed him. I don't think the raven was bringing him 4-course meals. That doesn't fit in a raven's mouth. It's just enough to survive. Then there's another time when God sends an angel, and the angel's like, quickly eat this up because you're not going to have food for another 40 days. Well, that's not nice. God says to Jesus, hey, I'm leading you into the wilderness to fast for 40 days and 40 nights. And then Satan came to him at his weakest point. And it even says, the Bible says very clearly, and Jesus was hungry. Some people are like, well, Jesus is God, he can do this. He can do. No, he was hungry. Just because God tells you to do something, it doesn't mean it's going to be fantastic. It doesn't mean it's going to be great. It doesn't mean you're going to enjoy yourself every step of the way. Usually, what I've seen from my experience is that when God tells you to do something, it's going to be horrible. He's telling you, he's giving you that word so you can hold on to it. If you don't need to hold on to something, he just might not tell you. Yeah, don't worry. It's fine, it's fine. No, when he gives you a word, he gives you that word generally because whatever's coming is so bad that if you don't have that word from him, you may not make it. I'm really sorry to depress you, but for other people, you have it easy. Good for you. For me, I don't know. I don't want to complain. I just want to say that I love you, God, and please remember me. Like, let me know if I can send that dove out. It came to pass at the end of the 40 days. Okay, where are we? Verse. Yeah, we'll go from verse 15. And God spake to Noah, saying, Go forth of the ark. Noah, why were you sending all these ravens and doves, and you still weren't allowed off the ark? That door was still shut. Sometimes we do that. We're like, okay, it's getting sooner now. Let me do this. It's getting sooner. Let me do that. It's getting sooner. It's getting sooner to the breakthrough. Let me do this. Let me do this. Okay, now the dove has come back. Now what? You didn't do anything. You sent the dove out again. 7 days later, dove didn't come back. You still had to wait for God to open the ark. You still had to wait for God to give you permission to come off. Go forth, verse 16 of chapter 8, from the ark, you and your wife and your sons wives with you. No one was allowed off. Bring forth with thee every living thing that is with thee, of the flesh of the bull, of the fowl, of the cattle, of every creeping thing that creeps upon the earth, that they may breed abundantly in the earth, and be fruitful and multiply on the earth. The same thing that he said to Adam and Eve, be fruitful and multiply. And Noah went forth, and his sons and his wife and his sons' wives with him, every beast and every creeping thing and every fowl, and whatsoever creep upon the earth, and all kinds went forth out of the ark. And Noah builded an altar unto the Lord, and took forth every clean beast and every clean fowl, and offered burnt offerings on the altar. Noah, you've just saved these creatures' lives from a flood, just to burn them up in fire. They didn't even have a chance to breathe. You've just come off the altar. What do? You make a sacrifice. He was sacrificing out of his need. Because God, let's just be real about it. God doesn't need a sacrifice. But he's given honor. He's given honor to God. He's showing like God, you've saved me. This is what I know how to do. Who's the first one? Abel. Abel gave a sacrifice that pleased God. Cain gave a sacrifice, but Abel's sacrifice pleased God. God's still talking about it in the book of Hebrews. Many years later, he gave a sacrifice that pleased God. Noah comes out, gives a sacrifice. Who else gave sacrifice that pleased God? Solomon, Jehoshaphat. Look at these things. Let's go and see what was God's response to the sacrifice. Was there even a response? And the Lord smelt a sweet savour. Well, the Lord obviously has nostrils. And the Lord said in his heart, I will not again curse the ground any more for man's sake. For the imagination of man's heart is evil from his youth, neither will I again smite any more everything that's living as I have done. While the earth remains, seed time and harvest, and cold heat, and summer and winter, and day and night shall not cease. I think that's also in either Jubilees or Jasher from chapter 47. They've got some interesting stuff there. But God smelt the sacrifice. It moved God's heart, and God's like, I'm not going to curse it again. I'm going to protect it now. So many times we can have a victory, whatever that victory is, and we may not even give a testimony of the victory. So many times I've heard people say, Pastor, I've got a testimony for you, but I'm just waiting. What are you waiting for? You're waiting to give honor to God? Give honor to God with your word. The Bible says that we overcome with the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony, and we do not love our life unto death. And I've seen these people, same people that have a testimony, that they don't release the testimony, they don't share the good things that God is doing in their life, they don't encourage other people about what God has done, and then what happens? They lose the very blessing that they thought they had. Some people, God will bless them, and they will love the blessing more than they love God. But that's an interesting one for when we come to Abraham, because God blessed Abraham with Isaac, and then said, do you love me or him? God blessed Noah with life. Noah gives his offering, and God smelt it, he's happy, and then look at his response. You know what? Despite everything that I've put you through to save you, because it could have been worse, you could have been utterly annihilated and destroyed, but I've chosen you, you're now a king on this earth. Despite everything, you still honored me, you still sacrificed me, you still blessed me. Now what am I going to do? I'm going to rebuke the curse from the ground. I'm not going to curse your work anymore. I'm going to bless it. Because he's reversing the curse. So, yeah. And the Lord smelt the sweet savour, and the Lord said in his heart, I will not again curse the ground anymore for man's sake. But then I find this very interesting from this point. It says, for the imagination of man's heart is evil from his youth. Despite Noah being righteous in God's eyes, God recognizes, God tells us, he just puts it very clear. It is what it is. Man is evil. He's got problems. His heart is evil. The heart is deceitful above all things. I will never again smite the earth anymore. Neither will I smite anymore every living thing as I've done, while the earth remains. And we can see that seed time and harvest are still here to this day. Chapter 9, and God blessed Noah and his son, saying, be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth. That same word replenish is there after the flood. That's the same word that God used for Noah when he came, for Adam when he came out of the Garden of Eden. He said, replenish the earth. It's the same word. And the fear of you and the dread of you shall be upon every beast of the earth, and upon every fowl of the air, upon all that move upon the earth, and all the fishes of the sea that your hand hath delivered, and every moving thing that lives shall be meat for you, and every green herb as I have given you all things. But the flesh of the life thereof is the blood thereof you shall not eat. So this could be as of the days of Noah, so shall it be when the Son of Man returns, that everything is available to eat. It's an alternative explanation for it. I don't believe it, but I just thought I'd throw it out there. But with all flesh of life, which is blood thereof, you shall not eat, and surely the blood of your lives I will require, and at the hand of the beast I will require it, and at the hand of man, at the hand of every man's brother I will require the life of man. Whosoever sheds a man's blood, by man shall his blood be shed. For in the image of God he made man. And here we have God reiterating, you as a human being, male and female, you are the image bearer of God. You are created in his image. Do not shed another person's blood. This is not 10 commandments. This is not Levitical law. This is the law for all of mankind, straight from the ark. Do not shed another man's life. Treat your brothers, treat your sisters with respect. Love your neighbor as you love yourself. Love them. They are the image bearer of God. Jesus says, how can you say you love me? Or how can you say you love God who you can't see, and you hate your brother who you do see? Don't you know your brother is the image bearer of God? He said about the Good Samaritan. Don't you know? You're the neighbor. As he said to Cain, you are your brother's keeper. He gave us 2 commandments, and I think they're the most difficult commandments in the Bible. To love God with all your heart, soul, and strength is difficult. And it's more difficult to love your neighbor as you love yourself. These things are much more difficult than all of the other commandments. It's easier to keep the Sabbath. Okay, Saturday is fine. I'll just lock myself in my house every Saturday and not work. But it's much more difficult to love someone who I don't like. To love someone that rubs me up the wrong way. To love someone that hates me. To love someone that spitefully uses me. That's more difficult. It's difficult to love someone when you know that their intentions against you are evil, that they want to hold you back, that they want to stop you. Maybe for whatever reason. It could be they don't like your hairstyle. Nicole. It could be that they don't like your color of your skin, the smell of your breath, the clothes that you're wearing, the country that you're from. It could be anything. They might hate you because you're richer than them. They might hate you because you're poorer than them. They may hate you for whatever reason. Sometimes people will just find a reason to hate you. And you may not deserve it. Some of you do deserve it though. Some of us do. Like, maybe I rub people the wrong way. It is what it is. But we're supposed to love people regardless, because this is how people will know that you are my disciples, by your love for one another. Do people feel welcome when they see you? Do people feel your love? Do people think, okay, at least they've got my best interest at heart? This is what we're supposed to be like. Let's love people the way that we want God to love us. Let's love other people that way. How do you want God to love you? Thank you, Howardine. Okay. Where are we? Okay. And you be fruitful and multiply and bring forth abundantly on the earth. I'm just going to try and speak louder. And God spake unto Noah and his sons with him, saying, Behold, I will establish my covenant with you and with your seed after you. That sacrifice came in, that offering came in, that covenant came out. Same thing with Abraham. Abraham brought the birds for the offering, for the sacrifice. And with every living creature that is with you, of the fowl, of the cattle, of the earth, and every beast of the earth that is with you, from all that go out on the ark, and every beast of the earth, and I will establish my covenant with you. Neither shall all flesh be cut off any more by the waters of a flood, neither shall there be any more flood to destroy the earth. But God can still destroy the earth with fire, so don't get too excited. And God said, This is the token of the covenant which I shall make between me and you and every living creature which is with you for perpetual generations. I do set my bow in the cloud, and it shall be a token of the covenant with me and the earth. So now God has put a rainbow in the cloud to say, I'm not going to judge you. And some people may say, well, I'm going to wear a rainbow to remind God, he can't judge me, he can't destroy me. You need to read that specifically. He says he's not going to judge you with the waters of the earth. Doesn't mean that he's not going to judge you for whatever you're doing. We have to live righteously before God. We have to live according to his law. There's 10 commandments there. They're very good. And it shall come to pass when I bring a cloud over the earth and set the bow seen in the earth, that I will remember my covenant, which is between me and you and every living creature of the flesh, and the waters shall no more come a flood to destroy all flesh, and the blow shall be in the cloud, and I will look upon it, that I may remember the everlasting covenant between God and every living creature of all flesh that is upon the earth. And God said to Noah, This is a token of the covenant which I have established between me and all flesh upon the earth. You see how God keeps on repeating it, keeps on repeating it, so you don't miss it. God has got a covenant. 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 And with that covenant, he protects mankind. With that covenant, you won't be destroyed. With that covenant, you'll be saved. And the sons of Noah went forth from the ark were Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and Ham is the father of Canaan. Canaan is Israel, Palestine now. And these are the 3 sons of Noah, and of them the whole earth was overspread. And Noah began to be a husbandman, and he planted a vineyard. I don't know where he found the vine from. I don't know if he took it on the ark with him, or if he found it there like he found the olives. All I know is that Noah had a plan, and that plan was to drink. And he planted a vineyard, and he drank of the wine, and was drunken, and he was uncovered within his tent. And Ham the father of Canaan saw the nakedness of his father, and told his 2 brethren without. And Shem and Japheth took a garment, and laid it both upon their shoulders, and went backward, and covered the nakedness of their father, and their faces were backward, and they saw not their father's nakedness. And Noah woke up from his wine, and knew what his younger son had done to him. And he said, Cursed be Canaan, a servant of the servants shall he be to his brethren. And he said, Blessed be the Lord God of Shem, and Canaan shall be his servant. And God shall enlarge Japheth, and he shall dwell in the tents of Shem, and Canaan shall be his servant. And Noah lived after the flood 350 years, and the days of Noah were 950 years. This is an interesting thing.
So some people wonder, what was
nakedness? Some people believe, and I'm just going to tell you what the belief is. Some people believe that by uncovering Noah's nakedness, that Ham slept, fornicated with Noah, which is disgusting on so many levels, like, as your father. Which would be interesting because they're given the covenant of the rainbow, and the next action would be that. I don't know about that. There's, in Leviticus, it tells us that if you sleep with a man's wife, which is to commit adultery by having sex with a married woman, that you uncover the man's nakedness. So it could be that Ham slept with Noah's wife. And people may say, but that's his mum. Well, it's not actually clear in the Bible that Noah's wife would be Ham's mum. It might not be. And I've heard this theory as well, saying that that happened, and then the offspring of that was Canaan. So Ham was Canaan's father, not Noah. I don't know if that's true or not. I'm just saying, so it's just another way of looking at the Bible. What is it saying? And the reason why I said that, I think it's Leviticus which talks about it, where it says, don't uncover your father's nakedness. To sleep with a man's wife is to uncover his nakedness. And it's very clear, they went backwards and covered up the father's nakedness. They didn't look. There's a lot of symbology for that. Even with their eyes, they're not going to look at the nakedness. And some of us, we try to uncover people's nakedness. We try to uncover God's nakedness by making the divine Father, trying to personificate him into a man, make him into our own image. Or we try to talk about God's limitations, or whatever it is. Don't try to uncover God's nakedness. He's not the being that will forgive you for it. Some things you just have to leave alone. Some things you just have to know, this is the boundary. I'm not crossing this boundary. I don't want to upset God. Whatever it is, I want to say that it's interesting that Ham sinned, but Canaan was cursed. We as parents need to be careful that our sins do not curse our children. We as parents need to take a responsibility for the decisions of our life to make sure that we can give our children the best future, the best start. We should always be building, getting higher and higher and higher. In fact, I even watched a film this week called, I think it's called Flowers of the Killer Moon. Maybe it's called that, maybe it's called something else. It's got Martin Scorsese, Leonardo DiCaprio, and Robert De Niro. And however warped this film was, and I believe it's based on a true story of the Osage Indians, however warped this is, they were marrying people so that their children would have a better life. They were marrying people so that their children would have the best start in life. What are we doing for our children? Are we being the best person that we can be so our children can have a better start? Are we thinking like the Bible says, a wise man leaves his children a house? A house. What are we doing now for our children? I know many of you listening and watching that you do the best that you can, but can we do better? We can do the best that we can according to our limitations, but sometimes we have to outsource instruction, outsource education, and learn, what can I do to maximize my time? What can I do to be a blessing to my children and my children's children? And with that, if we have any questions, I'm open. No questions? Awesome. Is that because I covered it so well, or you fell asleep, or do you have any questions online? Anything online? No questions whatsoever. Well, I pray that the Father God blesses you, that you have a wonderful time and evening, and I'm looking forward to Nimrod, the archetype of the Antichrist, which is what I want to be getting onto next week, and maybe Babylon, and government. So, thank you so much for coming. Thank you for rejoining me after this wonderful 2-week break that I had, spending time with my favourite children, the three that I've got. God bless you, God bless you. Good night.